Hello everybody, Prepper003 here today with another video for you guys, and this one is going to be pretty much a reaction video to some of the comments that I've been reading in my videos comments, in some of the comments on the groups that I follow and forums, and just kind of a trend that I've been seeing that's been growing, and I just kind of want to bring up the topic and just kind of give my opinions on it and see how those that follow my community on this channel kind of feel about this topic as well. And this is going to be the extreme minimalist. Now, these people or preppers I should say, think that you do not need to make any kind of effort towards prepping at all in terms of food stockpiles, water stocks, having any type of medical equipment, having any type of communication equipment, renewable energy. You don't need a bug out location because eventually your bug out location is just going to get raided and taken from you anyways. And having a bug out vehicle is useless because eventually gas is going to be gone. And on top of that, they say that you do not need to have any type of major supplies. You need to go back to a very minimalist, and this is why I kind of think of them as extreme minimalist, if you will, that all you need is a very lightweight, non-descriptive pack, something that just holds the very bare essentials, and that is it. And then for hunting wild game and for catching food, all you need is a slingshot, or they sometimes do advocate having a pellet rifle, and that is it. They also are very, very adamant that any type of firearms for self-defense is a no-go, because eventually you're going to run out of ammo, and ammo is too heavy for you to carry to bug out, and any type of firearm is just going to draw negative attention to you. Now, there are some of them that do say that, okay, well, if you are going to have a firearm, all you need is to have, and they mainly say this for hunting, mind you, some of them will say for self-defense is a 22. And that is it. And right now, sometimes they will actually say that if you are going to carry a firearm for self-defense, and they're mainly talking about like self-defense is going to be one-on-one, that's it, from 3 yards away or something like that. All you need is a very small caliber pistol. Something similar to this Browning 1911 .380 here. That would be, this right here would be pretty much the biggest pistol that they want you to have. And right now I just kind of want to talk today about that and to kind of discuss their concept. And right now that was kind of a very broad spectrum of what their concept is. Talk about why I think it's kind of naive to think that, and to kind of give my kind of rebuttal on it. Now, the first thing is that I really want to talk about is just the kind of wrong thinking of this concept. Now, it's good to be less reliant on gear. I can definitely say that, and I can support that in trying to limit yourself on weight and trying to limit yourself on the gear that you need to rely on to survive in any type of disaster. That's a good thought process, and that's a good way to approach prepping. I actually do agree with them on that. The thing that I don't agree with is for somebody that doesn't know or hasn't had any experience in that type of thing. Like, for example, you can read all the books you want, you can watch as many videos as you want, but until you actually get out and practice your survival skills, getting out, building a shelter, getting out and surviving in the elements and practicing and surviving in the elements, you're not going to be able to know how to approach it. For example, a lot of these people, you'll say all you need is a small pack like this to survive any type of SHTF scenario. Well, what happens if it's negative 30 degrees out with a wind chill of negative 50? I've actually had an unfortunate chance of being in a situation where we were actually at a training exercise where it was negative 20 degrees with a negative 50 degree wind chill, and it got very, very cold out there. Even with the proper supplies that we had out there, and having the proper shelter, maintaining a proper fire, and on top of all of that, having the proper layers and everything, we still got very cold out there. We were very drained of energy trying to keep that fire going, trying to keep our water from freezing up on us, trying to pretty much just barely stay alive over the weekend. And now it's just 2 nights out there. A buddy of mine, he had his dog out there, and his dog almost died just because of the extreme temps. He had to actually sit there and get the dog inside of his sleep system and to pretty much try to warm him up that way. So that's just one type of thing is that if you don't actually get out and practice these type of things, you won't know how to approach whenever it happens. So that's one of the things why I think that a lot of these people, for the most part, and I'm saying for the most part here, I know that there are some of them that have had years of outdoor survivalist training, and they can go out there with just a knife and be able to survive for an unlimited amount of time. But that's pretty much a very limited few. But there's a lot of them that kind of get the thought process in, is that they're just going to get up and walk out into the woods, and they're going to survive endlessly on just the bare essentials, if you will, that they have. Not minding that all it takes is one wrong step and they break an ankle, they injure themselves and everything else, and now they're pretty much hung out to dry. And then on top of that is that these people generally don't like to associate as a group, because a group is a waste of supplies and a, if you will, on them, and it's also a waste for you for being able to move and being able to evade conflict. These people also tend to think that they're going to be able to evade all type of conflict with their unparamounted amount of hindsight, which is another thing of unreliability, because you never know when somebody's going to just break into your house. Yeah, sure, there are some signs that somebody might be scoping your place out, like damaged locks, damaged windows, and everything else, but sure enough, you're never going to know the exact moment, the exact time that something's going to happen. Which is why I think that we need to actually, and this is going on to my next point, and it's something I constantly say in almost all my videos, is to prepare for today, survive tomorrow. Now, what do I mean by that? And this is actually trying to reach out to those people that think that this is that whenever we're talking about having all of this type of gear, all of the different types of food stockpiles, water stockpiles, and everything like that, it's not preparing for some unending, massive, Hollywood-esque style film, end of the world scenario. A majority of the SHTF scenarios that we experience in our day-to-day lives are natural disasters, very short-term, localized SHTF scenarios, and everything like that. For example, you getting fired or laid off from your job for a couple of months can be considered an SHTF scenario, very localized to you personally. Still having the food stockpiles, having money set aside for your family and for you, having extra water set aside in case you run out of power and everything else, that would be a very big asset to you and your family. Another thing is whenever it comes to a family, I have a family like most other preppers do, which is why most of us actually prep is for our families, not for ourselves. And the thing is that you're not just going to be able to pick up and have a 2-year-old survive out in the wilderness with just this. And I'm talking most preppers. I'm sure some of those extreme survivalists could probably do it, but I'm just kind of making a generalized argument here, is that they're going to need medical attention. They're going to need a shelter, a very stable living space to be able to grow, especially with the fact is that you're not going to have any type of medical supplies unless you try and know all the different home remedies for all the different sicknesses, diseases, and injuries out there. And I'm sure there might be somebody that jack of all trades type of thing, but still, it's very unlikely that one's going to be able to survive out there with the very limited amount of stuff. That's why a lot of preppers prepare for these type of multitude of situations. They have a bug out plan, they have a bug out location to go to that's already safe for them to go to and with their families. They have the extra food and water so that their family has a very extended period amount of time to survive, and giving them that extra bit of effort to thrive in an SHTF scenario. That's why we prepare, so that we're not scrambling and trying to pretty much live like a, and I'm going to coin a term here, which is what somebody else did, and that's pretty much as a migrating homeless man. And they pretty much said that the migrating homeless man is the pinnacle of what preppers want to be. Ignore the fact that homeless men have a drastic decreased amount of estimated lifespan than a normal human being that's actually living inside of a shelter, that are working and living inside of a home. So right now, that's just something that I've seen, that's been experienced a lot, and that's pretty much the topic that I want to do. And the last point that I was already touching on was pretty much the point of giving yourself that unleveled playing field, making sure that you're having that next step up over the standard citizenry when it comes to preparing for a natural disaster. Even FEMA tells you to have 3 days worth of supplies for food, water, having medical supplies, and things along those for just 3 days. And that's pretty much the bare basic amount for a prepper to look at. And that's pretty much like your very beginning novice prepper is to have pretty much 3 days. You go from those 72 hours to a week to a month to 3 months, 3 months to 6 months, and then so on and so forth until you have a good year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years supply of food, water, and the capability of moving beyond that. Having renewable sources of food, water, having a way to keep your bug out location powered for certain things, like communication, for example. Being able to get out and reach out to the people, because your SHTF scenario might not be global. It might be just locked down to a state. And if the state is pretty much locked out of having any type of communications, internet, and all that, you might not know that it's just a very small, very small localized SHTF scenario. And that's pretty much it. I really want to hear what you guys have to think on this topic of the extreme minimalist prepper. It's just a topic that a lot of people have been really kind of talking on and arguing about to me. They're saying that pretty much all of this stuff that I prepare for, ammo, gear, weapons, all of it is pretty much useless, unneeded, and that you don't need to have any of it. All you need is your very reliable slingshot, your pack, and your 2 feet. And that is it. So I really appreciate you guys watching. I'm looking forward to really reading and discussing this in the comment section down below. So I appreciate you guys watching. Prepper003 out.